I need you to understand something before we go any further. You did not find this video. This video found you. I know that might sound like something people just say, but I want you to sit with it for a real moment, because there is a difference between stumbling onto something and being led to it. And what is happening right now in this exact moment with you watching this, that is not a coincidence. That is not the algorithm. That is something far more precise than either of those things. And somewhere underneath all the noise of your day, you already know that you felt something when you saw the title. Not curiosity, exactly. Something quieter than curiosity and heavier than it. Recognition, like reading the first line of something you wrote a long time ago and forgot about. You have been carrying something lately, not the kind of heavy that other people can see on you, not the kind that earns you sympathy or explanation, the kind that lives right behind your chest, quiet and constant, the kind you have gotten so used to that you almost stopped noticing it. But you notice it in the mornings. You notice it in the small pauses between one thing and the next, when the distractions run out and there is just you and the truth of where you are right now. You notice it when someone asks how you are doing, and you say fine and means something much more complicated than fine. And the truth, the real truth, that you have not said out loud to anyone lately is that you are tired. Not weak, not broken, not falling apart. Tired. There is a very important difference between those things, and I need you to hear that distinction clearly, because the story you have been telling yourself about what this tiredness means is not the whole story. Not even close. You have been doing the work. Maybe not perfectly, maybe not without stumbling, without slipping back, without the occasional night where you let yourself feel things you told yourself you were done feeling, but you have been doing it. You have been choosing yourself in the small ways that nobody claps for and nobody sees and nobody puts in the highlight reel. The moment you did not send the message. The morning you got up anyway when staying in bed would have been so much easier. The night you sat with something painful instead of running from it, instead of reaching for your phone, instead of filling the silence with anything that would make it stop. The choice you made over and over again to keep going, even when keeping going felt like walking through something thick and heavy and completely invisible to everyone around you, that is not nothing. That is not small. That is everything. And the part of you that is exhausted right now is not the part that is failing. It is the part that has been carrying more than its share for longer than it should have had to. And I want you to know that weight has been seen, even when it felt like it hadn't. Welcome, and I am your friend. Today, I want to talk to you about what it means when a message finds you. Not what you think it means. Not the surface version that sounds nice and gets shared as a quote. The real version, the version that Carl Jung spent the better part of his life trying to put into words the rational mind could accept without flinching, because Jung understood something that most people spend their whole lives resisting. He understood that the psyche, the deep, living, breathing intelligence of your inner world, is not passive. It is not a storage unit for memories and wounds and old conversations you replay at night. It is an active force that moves toward wholeness with a kind of relentless, quiet precision that does not ask for your permission and does not wait for you to feel ready. And when you are ready for something, truly ready, in the way that only comes after real struggle, after real loss, after something in you has been broken open and you chose to grow through the opening instead of close around it, the psyche begins to arrange things. Hey, wait, are you still not a member of our Patreon community? I can't believe that. It's completely free. You just join and you get access to exclusive posts that I don't share anywhere else. Nothing to pay, nothing to sign up for, just a free community where we go deeper together. The link is right there in the pinned comment. Go to it right now. I'll be waiting for you on the other side. It begins to set up the conditions for your next chapter with a specificity that the logical mind will always want to call coincidence, because coincidence is more comfortable than the alternative. The alternative is that you're being guided. The alternative is that the life trying to reach you is reaching back. So, let me ask you something, and I want you to sit with this question before you answer it, even just to yourself. What have you been trying to figure out alone? Because I am seeing something very specific right now, and I want to name it carefully. There is a version of your life that you have been holding in your mind for a long time. Not obsessing over, not clinging to, just holding, the way you hold something precious and fragile that you are not sure yet whether to keep or set down. A version where something that feels unresolved becomes resolved. Where something that has been hanging in the air between you and another person, between you and a future you can almost see, finally lands somewhere solid. You have not given up on that version, but you have started to wonder quietly in the moments when you are most honest with yourself and the armor is down and the performance has stopped, whether wanting it still makes you foolish. Whether the hope you have been tending carefully in private against the odds and against the advice of the part of you that just wants to be safe, whether that hope is wisdom or whether it is the last shape your fear takes before it finally has to let go. And that question, that exact question, is the reason this message found you today. Because the answer is neither. It is neither wisdom nor foolishness. It is something more precise than both of those words can hold. What you are carrying is discernment in process. You are in the middle of learning the difference between hope that serves you and attachment that costs you. And that is one of the most important lessons a soul can learn. It is almost never a lesson that comes clean. It comes messy, it comes in layers, it comes with setbacks that feel like proof you were wrong to hope and breakthroughs that feel too fragile to trust. You are right in the middle of that process right now, and from the inside, that process does not feel like growth. It feels like being stuck. It feels like standing in a doorway, unable to go back into the room you came from and unable to move forward into the one ahead. The room behind you is familiar, even though it hurt you. The room ahead is unknown, even though it is where everything you want is waiting, and the doorway is uncomfortable and the waiting is exhausting, and you are doing it anyway, every single day, and nobody is handing you anything for that. Not yet. Jung called this the transcendent function, the psychological process by which two opposing forces inside a person, what you want and what you fear, who you were and who you are becoming, the past you are still holding and the future that is trying to reach you, begin to settle into something genuinely new. Not a compromise between the two, not one side winning over the other. A third thing, something that could not have existed without the tension of both sides holding at the same time. And the transcendent function does not run on your schedule. It does not happen when you decide you are ready, or when you have figured everything out, or when the circumstances finally line up the way you need them to. It happens when enough of the old structure has broken down to make room for what is coming. And that breaking down is the part that feels like stagnation. The breaking down is the doorway. The pressure you are feeling right now is not the pressure of something ending. It is the pressure of something trying to be born. You are not stuck. You are in the middle of becoming. And becoming is the most disorienting place a person can live, because you are no longer who you were and you are not yet fully who you are going to be. And most days, you have to move through the world from that in-between place without a map. I want to stay here for a moment because I think this matters, and I think you need to hear it said directly. The in-between is not a mistake. The in-between is not a sign that you did something wrong, or that the universe has forgotten about you, or that you are somehow behind where you should be. The in-between is the work. It is the most important part of the whole process, and it is the part that gets the least credit because from the outside it looks like nothing is happening. People in the in-between look fine. They function, they show up, they answer messages and meet their responsibilities and laugh at the right moments in conversations, and nobody knows. Nobody can see that underneath all of that. They are in the middle of a complete internal reorganization of everything they thought they knew about themselves, about what they deserve, about what love is supposed to feel like, about what they are willing to accept and what they are no longer willing to carry. That reorganization is happening inside you right now, and it is the most sacred thing about where you are. Now I want to talk about the other person, the one you have been thinking about, the one whose name lives in a specific part of your chest that you do not always have access to, but that opens sometimes without warning, at random hours, in the middle of completely unrelated moments. When a song comes on, or a certain quality of light hits a room a certain way, or someone says a word that you and that person once used in a way that belonged only to the two of you, I want to talk about them because they are part of this message too. Not the center of it. You are the center of it, but they are in it. And what I want you to understand about them is something that might be hard to take in if you are still in the part of this where the pain is loudest, where the unanswered questions still sting, where the silence still has an edge. They are in their own process, a process they did not choose, cannot fully see from the inside, and are not equipped right now to name. And that process is harder than they are letting on to anyone around them, because what is happening to them underneath whatever surface version of their life they are currently presenting to the world is a confrontation with the gap between who they have been and who the most honest version of themselves actually requires them to be. That gap does not close easily. It does not close through distraction or forward momentum or deciding to feel a different way. It closes through reckoning, and the reckoning has a face, and the face looks like you. Not because you are their salvation, not because your healing is tied to their awakening, not because you need to wait for them to figure themselves out before you can move forward. None of those things, but because you represented something real in a season of their life when everything else was performance and management and carefully kept distance, and the realness of what you brought, the specific quality of presence and depth and genuine attention that you offered them did not disappear when the connection did. It went underground, and underground things have a way of making their presence known. Underground things grow toward the light, whether the surface allows it or not. I am not telling you to wait for them. I want to be completely clear about that, because I know how easy it is to hear something like this and turn it into permission to put your life on hold. That is not what this is. What I am telling you is something more important than any instruction about waiting or not waiting, reaching out or staying silent. I am telling you that the version of you who is rooted in her own becoming, the version you are building right now, quietly, in the exhausting in-between, in the work that nobody sees and nobody validates and nobody celebrates, that version is not in competition with love. She is the condition for it. The real kind. The kind that does not ask you to make yourself smaller to fit inside it. The kind that does not require you to hold your breath or monitor yourself constantly or translate yourself into something more digestible. The kind that can only find you when you are standing fully in the truth of who you are, without apology, without performance, without the low hum of anxiety that comes from needing someone else to confirm that you are worth staying for. And you are closer to that version of yourself than you have ever been, even if it does not feel that way right now, especially because it does not feel that way right now. The moments just before a real shift almost always feel like the opposite of a shift. They feel like stagnation. They feel like the universe has gone quiet and forgotten your coordinates. Jung wrote about this in a way I return to often. He observed that the most significant changes in a person's psychological life rarely announce themselves in advance. They arrive preceded by a period of inner tension, a period that the person experiencing it almost always misreads as failure, as regression, as proof that nothing is working, when in fact it is the necessary pressure of transformation, completing the work it needs to complete before the new thing can emerge. The cocoon does not feel like becoming, it feels like being trapped. And then one day, the walls give way. You're not failing. You're under the kind of pressure that comes before transformation. And that pressure is specific and purposeful, and it has been building exactly as long as it needed to build. Every moment of it has been doing something inside you that you will only be able to fully see in hindsight from the other side, when you can look back at this chapter and understand what it was preparing you for. But I want you to trust something right now, in this moment, before that hindsight is available to you. I want you to trust that the quiet work you have been doing has not been wasted. That the mornings you showed up for yourself have been registered somewhere that matters. That the choices you made in private when nobody was watching, when there was no reward, except the small dignity of doing the right thing for yourself, those choices have been building something real, something that is almost ready There is a specific thing I want to say to you about the person you have been thinking about, and I want to say it carefully because I think it matters and I think it is easy to misunderstand. They are being changed by your absence, not in a dramatic way that they would necessarily name or put into words. In the quiet way that real change always happens, underneath the surface, in the part of a person they do not have full conscious access to. The version of you they carry in their memory is not a still image. It is alive. It responds to who they are becoming. It asks questions of them that the old version of them did not have to answer. It sits in the corner of their awareness in the middle of ordinary moments and does not move and does not speak and does not need to, because its presence alone is the question. And the question is, who are you choosing to be? And are you choosing it consciously? And is the life you are building the one that is actually yours, or is it the one that felt safest to choose when you were most afraid? Those are not comfortable questions, and they are not asking them willingly. Nobody goes looking for that kind of reckoning. It finds them the way this message found you. And the reckoning has your name on it. Not because you did anything to cause it. Not because you owe them your healing or your patience or your openness to whatever version of themselves they eventually arrive at, but because truth does not go quiet just because someone decides to stop listening to it. It gets louder. It gets louder in exact proportion to how hard a person works to suppress it. And they have been working very hard, and it is beginning to show. But here is what matters. Here is the thing I need you to hold on to past this video, past today, past whatever happens next between you and this person, and you and yourself. Your healing cannot depend on their timeline. Your becoming cannot be parked in the waiting room of someone else's process. That is not a rule someone made up. That is a psychological law. The self that is trying to emerge in you, the whole, rooted, sovereign version of you that this entire chapter has been building toward, cannot fully emerge while it is organized around waiting for someone else to catch up. It needs you. It needs your full attention and your full investment and your full belief in your own story as the primary story, not the supporting role in someone else's arc. The lead, the author, the one who decides what happens next. And the beautiful thing, the thing I want you to feel somewhere underneath the logic of all of this, is that the more fully you step into that role, the more you become the person that the right version of the right connection can actually find. You are not making yourself unavailable by healing. You are making yourself findable. You are not moving on by becoming whole. You are making yourself worth moving toward. There is a version of this story where everything you have been holding onto and working toward and refusing to give up on comes together in a way you cannot currently see from where you're standing. Not because it is guaranteed. Nothing is guaranteed. But because you have done the kind of work that tends to produce that kind of outcome. Because the universe, whatever you believe about it, tends to respond to the energy of someone who has decided to be real.